Are you ready to unlock your full potential and maximize your productivity? Look no further than Productivity Smarts, the ultimate audio podcast hosted by renowned productivity expert Gerald J. Leonard. In every episode, Gerald shares captivating stories, invaluable tips, and cutting-edge strategies that will transform the way you approach productivity. Whether you're looking to reduce stress, overcome overwhelm, or simply get more done in less time, Productivity Smarts has got you covered. But that's not all. You'll also gain inspiration from real-life success stories of individuals who have achieved greatness through productivity. Plus, you'll learn the latest tools, techniques, and habits that will help you achieve a new level of happiness and fulfillment in your personal and professional life. So why wait? Join us every week as we delve into the exciting world of productivity and help you unleash your full potential. Get ready to take your productivity to the next level with Productivity Smarts. As a productivity expert and host of the Productivity Smarts podcast, Gerald J. Leonard has been a proud supporter of Kiva since 2011. Kiva is a non-profit organization that helps entrepreneurs in third world countries access the capital they need to start or grow their businesses. By making a small loan through Kiva, you can help these entrepreneurs achieve their dreams, support their families, and contribute to their local economies. And with a repayment rate of over 96%, your loan can be re-lent to another entrepreneur once it's repaid, creating a ripple effect of positive change. So if you're looking for a meaningful way to make a difference in the world, consider making a loan through Kiva. With loans as small as $25, anyone can be a microlender and help change lives. Visit kiva.org to learn more and start lending today.
Well, today I'm speaking to Armida Espinoza. She's an educator who turned children's author who uses her own journey through imposter syndrome and shares a story about brave Louise learning English in her children's book, which is an amazing book. She brings wisdom about rewiring our inner narrative, neuroplasticity, and restoring confidence in our productivity and our creativity. And I have to say, again, I read through the book and, parts of it in English and parts of it in Spanish. And it's really, really cool. It's an amazing story, but it brings out a lot of different things. And so I'm really interested in this conversation. What is your favorite style of music? Because I always start with that question in my podcast because I'm a musician. And I always have to ask, so what is your favorite style of music?
Okay, so I grew up in the 70s. Motown was it.
That's interesting. That's awesome.
My first album was the Supremes.
Okay. No, is that one of your favorite groups back in?
I memorized that whole album and played it till. So, yeah. So I mean, even though I've grown and learned to love jazz and blues, and Motown, just can't get it out of my system.
Yeah. It's one of those things. Music is one of those things where the music that you first fall in love with as a youngster, I'll just say it that way, it actually encodes in us, right? And so it encodes with tons of memories and smells and things like that. So as soon as we hear that song that you fell in love with, it takes you back to when you were a little girl or
yes,
or a guy when you're a little boy. And you remember, the sights, the sounds, and everything else. And it's just, music just has that power. And so it's amazing. How did you get started in writing? Because obviously you were an educator and obviously in education, but storytelling. And what role has that played in your journey to where you are now?
Well, I had always loved writing, but because academically, so Brave Lolis, the book is my story. It's my personal experience as a first grader.
Oh.
And and so unfortunately, the experience I had in first grade changed the trajectory of my life. And it wasn't until my 20s that I came to realize, like, wait a minute, something is not right here. So I had always enjoyed writing, except that because I had such low confidence and low self-esteem, I never shared any of my writing with anybody, with the exception of my husband, who after 40-something years of being married, he was my safe zone. So when I retired as an educator during COVID, I just, in my mind, I envisioned myself just hiding away in my little cocoon and just writing my little heart out and being very content with life. But I decided, the thought occurred to me, maybe take a writing class, a children's writing class. I'd never taken any children's writing classes. And it was through that I was encouraged to self-publish. And that's where Brave Lolis was born.
That is amazing. Now, I wouldn't have picked that up when I read the book because of the way you wrote it, but because it seemed like it was from a different perspective. But wow. Now that makes a lot of sense as far as just some of the descriptive emotions and things that you went through or that you felt and so on. And what was it? I love English.
Yes.
That was the saying, I love English, because your mother would say that to herself and so on. And then, you started doing it and you started doing, better, started doing well, but you had.
Well, yeah. So I got to tell you, it was a children's story. So I had to end it with a happy ending. That was not the reality for me. And so that conversation with the mom and learning to change your way of thinking, that was created from the experiences that I had as a first grader. But unfortunately, as I said, the experience that I had from first grade through my 20s was not a positive experience in any fashion. And yet I managed to get through it and eventually come to realize how negative my own self-negative talk had hindered my growth.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like I think it's Henry Ford that says, if you believe you can, you can. If you believe you can't, you can't.
You can't.
And it really is an idea of our beliefs. And if we allow our beliefs to limit us and we go that direction, it really can have a big impact. And I know that, we're titling this our conversation, Imposter Syndrome and Neuroplasticity, right? And, imposter syndrome is just feeling like I'm not good enough, or I'm in a role, but I'm not the person really qualified for this role. So I feel like I'm having to fake it. And I know a lot of people struggle with imposter syndrome and go through that. Now, you describe in the book, having those feelings. How do those experiences feed into imposter syndrome? And how can you begin to reprogram using this concept of neuroplasticity, and maybe talk a little bit more about neuroplasticity as well?
Yes. Thank you. Yes. So all the things that go on in the background or in our mind that nobody else sees, but we hear very loud and clear.
Right.
They play over and over, and they become our modem of operation, right? MO. And if we're not made aware, we're not given the tools and the strategies to recognize that perhaps those thoughts are not serving us well, we stay stuck. I stayed stuck until my 20s. It wasn't until my 20s that I came to realize what was happening.
What helped you to realize? That's a good point, because what helped you to realize that was happening, and what did you do to change it?
Yeah, so if I could just go back just a second to the book, because in first grade, the teacher is testing me on my ABCs. I get stuck at G, and the teacher was very kind and very pleasant, but it was a new teacher, new classroom, new surroundings. And so at that moment, I just felt so embarrassed and so ashamed. And then the teacher is writing something on her pad. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, now she's writing that I'm not smart. And now she's going to know, right? And I look around at the other students and they're all smiling. And I'm thinking, and of course, I don't know any of them because it's a new school for me. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, they're smart. And I'm the only one that's not smart. Without even realizing what I'd done, I made a decision to just kind of stay quiet and do the best that I could on my own without asking for help, because I figured anytime I asked for help, I was just going to show the fact that there was more stuff that I didn't know.
Exactly.
Right? I was just going to...
It's really interesting. I'm going to just jump in here for a second.
Yes.
It's really interesting because many of us, folks who are listening, there's a point in time in your life, and most of the time it's when we were children, that something happened, like the situation where you got stuck going through your ABCs on the letter G, and you felt embarrassed, and the teacher wrote something down, and you assumed she was writing about you. And what happens is we give that event a meaning that actually puts a marker on our life at that time. And so for whatever reason, we never grow emotionally or mentally in that little space past that area until somehow 20 years later, 10, 15 years later, we come to realize that, you know what, I made that story up about myself. Your teacher probably never told you that you were not smart. The other kids smiled at you. They never said that you came to you and said, oh, you're not smart. And, your mother never said to you, you're not smart. It was you looking at yourself, not even in the mirror, but just thinking and looking at yourself and giving yourself that meaning that then limits you.
Yes, exactly.
Most of us, when we come up with limiting beliefs, I had them and I have them. It's things that we do to ourselves.
Yes. And that's exactly what happened to me. So I made the decision to just do the best that I could on my own without asking for help. Not the best advice to give myself at 6 years old.
Right.
So academic
is with a mentor or coach or other people in your life. And now
exactly.
That's it.
Yeah, so every year I fell academically behind every year. And of course, the shame and the embarrassment and the feeling that I was not smart kept getting louder and louder in my head, right? In my own head. I ended up graduating, probably reading about third or fourth grade level. So academically, I was very low. I was good in math and I enjoyed school. But when it came to reading and writing, I was very low. But
then you chose to be a teacher.
Go figure. I got to tell you.
How did that happen? Like, what was the shift, right? You graduate third grade level, blah, blah, blah. And now I'm a teacher. Like, what happened?
Yeah, so I was very fortunate, just blessed, because what happened is I met a young man in high school, became my boyfriend. I was first generation. So my background, was completely different from his. He was fourth generation. His father was the counselor at the high school where my boyfriend went.
Okay.
And in my case, my parents had not had an opportunity to get any education. They were from Mexico. And so it was a completely different upbringing. But he was a year older than me. And he always had a very clear vision because of his exposure to the fact that he was going to graduate from high school, go to college, become a teacher, become a principal, get his doctorate. I, on the other hand, was just dying to get out of high school and be done with that experience of feeling less than. So he asked me, so he's a year older at the time. He asked me, and he's getting ready to go off to college. And so he asked me, what college was I going to plan on going? And my first immediate response was, I am not going to go to college. I'm going to get a job and I'm going to be just perfectly content with that. And so we ended up getting married and we moved to Los Angeles. He went to Occidental College, a rather prestigious college in Los Angeles.
Right.
And so I got a job. And I got to tell you, I got a job with the state as a file clerk. I obviously learned my alphabet by that time. But in any event, so I would go to work and I'd come home, and what I would find at the house was him and his friends, and they would all be helping each other write their term papers, editing, typing back then. And so, and helping each other with math. And it occurred to me, I had never sought out any help from anybody. And I realized, like, oh my God, I've missed the boat completely. And he had always encouraged me to go to college. And it was at that time that I thought to myself, maybe I could learn to read and write at a higher level if I asked for help and seek out some support. So I took a class at the community college and did just that. he helped me a lot. I looked up just about every word in the dictionary, and and he helped me a lot with my term papers, grammar and punctuation. I mean, you name it, the whole gamut, right? And I eventually started having success. And it turned my thinking. I started thinking, wow, if I just had asked for help, I could learn.
Right.
And I eventually became a teacher because of that.
That's excellent. That's excellent. It's I have a quote that I always say, and that is, mentoring and coaching is like being on the HOV lane. So if you've ever lived in a very large city where you have a high occupancy lane, you never see somebody on the high occupancy lane by themselves. They are always with someone else.
Yes.
Now, everybody else is stuck in traffic, going really slow. It may take them 2 hours to get to where they're trying to go to. But in the high occupancy lane, there are two people there. They're able to have a conversation. They have the air conditioner on. They're enjoying themselves. They're listening to music. And they're getting home in 15 minutes where everybody else is stuck in traffic. And isn't that the way life is?
Yes, that is a really good analogy. I had never thought about it. But yes, I mean, how much further can we get in life with the support of each other?
Right.
Yes, exactly.
It's a big difference. Now, in the process of writing your book, I'm sure you had to persist despite resistance, doubts, and editing challenges. Because anytime you write a book, you write something, that's not good enough, and you kind of go back and forth until you maybe you've written a number of books, and then you go, okay, just, it's never going to be perfect, but you keep moving on, and you get through it, and then you go back and edit it, and so on. But what productivity habits or mindsets helped you to push through in those moments when you were writing this book and doing all of the things that you have to do to pull a book together? How did you deal with that? And did any of those things come up from in the past?
Yes. So, of course, by the time I retired and I'm writing this particular book that I'm going to be publishing,
right,
I'm already 65. So thank God I'm already 65 because I've learned a lot.
Right.
I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about neuroplasticity. I've learned a lot about changing my mindset and the damage of negative self-talk and the importance of constantly being attentive to my thoughts.
Yes.
So it took all of those years and all of that experience and working on myself that when I got to the point of taking that children's class and thinking to myself, maybe perhaps I could publish a book, and whether I'm the only one that buys it, so be it. But by this time, I had had a lot of successes in life. I had become a teacher. I'd received my master's. I was doing staff development for teachers, and I had opened up movie theater. So I had had tons of experiences in life.
Right.
That required me to learn something new and push myself through those negative thoughts that perhaps I wasn't good enough, right?
Right.
So by the time that I came to the point of writing my book, the story came very quickly. I'll tell you this, because there was another story that I had my heart set on publishing. It had my mother in the story, and my mom had already passed away by that time. So I thought, if there's going to be one book in my lifetime, it's going to be that book with my mother. Right. Except the editor kept finding a lot of holes in the story. And we kept going back and forth. And no matter how much I adjusted the story and edited and made changes and took her recommendations, the story was not moving forward. And after 2 months, I thought to myself, what is going on around here? I thought to myself, the universe must be trying to tell me something else. So I put that story aside. I meditated. I calmed myself down because after 2 months, I was getting pretty worked up. And that's when my experience of first grade kept popping up. And I realized that's the story I need to tell, more importantly, now. And so the story came together very quickly. The editor loved it. And of course, there was still some going back and forth because an editor certainly has different experiences that I don't. But the story came together really quickly. And even though as when you self-publish, it takes about a year to do all the logistical backgrounds and illustrations and the layouts, those came through quite quickly.
Yeah.
And so I was very thankful that I had the wisdom to stop pushing something that was not meant to be.
Right. And it could be that, it could be just that at the time it wasn't the right timing for it. And
Yes.
you need that experience, or, there could be other things that are going on that we aren't aware of and see, that our bodies, our mind, our non-conscious knows. And it says, okay, hey, this is not going to work right now, but maybe later. Because I think, being able to write about our parents, in my first book, I wrote a book called Culture is the Base. I'm a musician. And so I wrote this book, and I told a story about my dad, right? And at that time, I think I published that book in 2015. He had passed away in 2006, but he was a very resilient, a very strong, manly man. And I just remember always coming home and he was there, as far as that being that father figure, getting up early in the morning, and just what I learned from him. And we had great conversations, but I think I learned more from him by watching him and the way he worked with us. I was the youngest of 6, but the way he took care of us, the way he, disciplined us, the way he trained us, the way he taught us, the way he supported us, it really helped me when I became a father, that I did more of what I did, not so much because someone told me, but because of what I saw. And so I think that's really important. I think it's really important to tell those stories, and I think the time will come for you to be able to share that story as well. And it's interesting because you have a real good gap between when you work through everything and all the education and training and the success, and then going back to, hey, I'm going to write the story. And it reminds me of the concept of resilience, right? And a lot of people think that resilience is bouncing back instantly. And, it's not. It really is about developing your strengths, emerging over time, learning and building. And how does that relate to what you've gone through?
Yes, that perfect segue into. So now I go around and I in-service teachers with my book.
Okay.
And I speak to that point exactly. I said, we as children, we are not born with resilient strategies. I did not even know what the word resilient meant at 6 years old. So I had nothing to draw from. All I had was a little voice that popped into my head. And I decided, that sounds like good advice. I think I will take it.
Right.
That was the only the only thought that ran to my head. But so my message now to educators and to parents is that children are not born with resilient strategies.
Right.
We have to teach them those strategies. And the best way I find to teach that strategy is to talk to children about the fact we as adults are lifelong learners. And when we're learning something new, we as adults, like children, will have that little voice that will pop up in our heads and will say, this is the one thing you're not going to be able to learn.
Right.
Right now, I'm trying to learn how to play piano.
Right.
I sit down in front of that piano and that recording comes out loud and clear. Armida, you should have learned it when you were younger. You're too old to learn how to play piano. You need to give it up. Why are you doing this to yourself? So I tell teachers, I said, we need to let children know that we all have that voice that pops into our heads when we're being challenged. All of us do. And teach our children what we do with that. Because that voice that is happening inside our heads is louder than anybody else is talking to you.
Right.
And yet we don't know that it's happening. But it's happening. It's happening with us as adults, and it's happening with our children.
Yeah.
So now I talk to teachers about that. Let's share with children the fact that we as adults still have that voice, and that voice will pop up when we least expect it. And what do we do with it? We should not be ignoring it, but rather we should find a quick, simple phrase to change our mindset at that moment,
right,
to help us push through. So learning how to play piano is easy and fun. I repeat that phrase over and over to myself.
I'm going to use that on myself. I play piano. and I can play, but sometimes it's like, oh, do I want to sit down and play? But I think, like you said, hey, playing piano is easy and fun.
Yeah, just that one simple strategy.
Right.
Learning how to do math is easy and fun. Just that simple change of voice that's happening, or vocabulary that's happening in our heads, will give us the opportunity to stay there and not give up and push through it. Just that simple phrase.
And it is amazing that a simple phrase as good as, doing whatever is easy and fun, your brain may come up and say, no, it's not. Come on, who you're kidding. This is not fun. This is hard work. This is a lot to do. I got to, just kind of starts arguing with you. But if you persistently keep saying it,
yes,
then at a conscious level, pretty soon your non-conscious or that other part of you starts to accept it. Okay, he thinks it's easy and fun. Let's give it a try.
Yeah, exactly.
That was fun. And then pretty soon you convince yourself, and now that becomes the norm. But I think, many people don't have that as a skill or a tool or realize that sometimes it is just that easy. One of the things that I do is every morning I have a morning routine, and I write down I literally write down on my tablet 5 things I'm grateful for. Because Dawson Church, who's a doctor, says that, and neuroscience says that within 12 seconds of writing down something positive about yourself, you grow new brain cells. And so if you do that over, and that's part of the neuroplasticity that you're talking about. So when you're saying that, you're actually beginning to wire your brain to look for ways that, okay, they keep saying this is fun and easy or easy and fun. How is this fun and easy? And so your brain starts looking for, well, why are they saying that? And then pretty soon you start discovering that, oh, when they did this, I did that, that was fun. And then and now you kind of, as I would say, have a football team that's all going in the same direction, right?
Yes.
Sometimes our brain's like a football team that's not on the same page. Some of the guys are running over here, and some of the guys are running over there. We feel like we're fighting ourselves internally, where the best teams are emotionally and mentally and physically going in the same direction.
Yes, yes. And we're constantly bombarded with so many thoughts that run through our head.
Yes.
And oftentimes we ignore those thoughts, and I think we don't realize how damaging some of those thoughts are and how they hold us back. Yeah. I put together a little bracelet, and now I give it out when I present to students and to teachers. And it's just those little cheap plastic bracelets. And it says, "What are you thinking?" I wear it constantly because whenever I look down at this bracelet throughout my day, I just stop for a second and I ask, oh, what was that thought I just had?
Right.
Because if that thought was a negative thought, I quickly switch it to something positive.
Right.
Like if I'm trying to write, another, whatever I'm trying to write. And right now I'm trying to write a character reference for somebody. And I'm thinking, I don't know what else to say. And if I look down on my bracelet and it says, what are you thinking? And I'm thinking, oh, well, I'm thinking a negative thought, right? And so I have to tell myself, oh, yes, I'm going to, a lot of great ideas are going to come to me, for this letter. Just that minor switch. Then I keep going, right? I keep going with what I'm doing, the writing of the letter. But just constantly being aware of the thoughts that we are having throughout the day gives us an opportunity to switch it if that thought is not serving us well.
Exactly. Jack Canfield, I've had a chance to meet him and work with him on some things. And one of the things he would say, or he taught, was when you have a negative thought, just stop and say, cancel. And your brain goes, okay, and it erases it.
Yeah.
So try that one as well. And if you're listening, if you have those times where you're, constantly getting bombarded with negative thoughts, just stop and go cancel. And you're what you're giving a command to your brain is stop it. It's like a little kid, right? Mm-hmm. Darren Hardy calls it the monkey brain. That we just kind of like, just has a mind of its own. But if we say cancel, it helps us to move forward. Now let me ask you this: thinking forward, if someone listens to today's episode and want to begin shifting this imposter feeling or a syndrome concept that they may have about themselves to a more confident and action-oriented mindset, what could be a 30-day plan that you would give them?
So we all have phones.
Okay.
Set an alarm on your phone to every hour. Every hour you hear a little ping or a little pinging, right? The minute you hear that ping, just ask yourself, what am I thinking? And if you're at that moment, if you are having a negative thought, switch it to something easy,
Right.
something positive thought, and then just move on. Reset your phone for the next hour.
That is, because you can't fix something if you're not aware of it.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
So if you, yes.
So most of our thinking, 95% is all automatic.
Yes.
And we just fall into this automatic process of doing things. But if, here's something you can add to that is when that phone goes off and you say, what am I thinking? If it is negative, just stop and say, cancel.
Yes.
And then reset it. And then go back and say, okay, whatever I'm doing is easy and fun.
Exactly. Yeah. Combine the two. And be sure to reset your clock for the next hour, because the more I do this, the more it's becoming more automatic for me.
Exactly. Well, you're training, it's the neuroplasticity, and whether you're 2 or 65 or 85, our brain still has the ability to grow.
Yes, rewiring itself.
Exactly. And so if we find ourselves in a negative spiral and we implement something like we just talked about, then you can begin, and it doesn't happen overnight, right?
No.
It doesn't happen like, okay, you wake up one day, you're doing this, next day, you never have those negative thoughts. But within a short period of time, by doing this on a regular basis, you will rewire your brain to look for the positive. And that's one of the reasons I do the 5 things in the morning of what I'm grateful for. And it could be a warm cup of coffee. It could be just being able to sit down and have the ability to do that, or to be able to write, or that I can see what I'm writing. It could be something really simple, but just being grateful changes your energy, changes your mindset, and it actually will change your neuroplasticity.
Yes. And thank God that we can rewire our brain. I mean, 30, 40 years ago, that was never, nobody talked about that.
Right.
And it's, wow, how fortunate we are to live in this time. But yeah, so at 69, I've gotten into a pretty good habit of catching myself throughout the day. It's a habit now for me.
That is excellent. Well, Armida, where can people get your book, and where can they learn about you and the things that you're doing, and just follow you on your journey?
Sure. Thank you. So on Facebook, Armida Espinoza, author. Okay. And my book is available on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. They could also purchase it through my website, armidaespinoza.com. Okay. I could send a signed copy. And so, it's been pretty amazing. I've been so fortunate. I've sold, and this, as a self-published person, first publishing book, I've managed to sell over 9,000 books in 2 years.
Wow.
And I hear that that's really good. And I go, okay, because
most people sell maybe in their lifetime 200, 250, who knows, right?
Yeah.
It's such a crowded space, right?
Yes.
Self-publishing with AI and so on. So to have a book that people are actually buying and purchasing, and to sell 9,000 copies, that is an amazing feat.
Yes. So I'm very fortunate. I feel very blessed that the message is being, put out there, and the book is being put in the hands of children and teachers and parents. Right. And so I feel very blessed. But yes, I would welcome folks to follow me on Armida Espinoza, author, on Facebook, or my website, armidaespinoza.com.
Excellent. Well, Armida, I've enjoyed our conversation today, and it's been a lot of fun. And again, I really enjoyed reading the book, and because it does go in English and then it does go in Spanish, so that was fun to kind of go through that. But what a wonderful story and a wonderful journey. And thank you so much for just sharing your wisdom with the world, because I know it's going to make a difference in some people's lives, and it's going to help them see that, hey, if she can do it, I can do it. So thank you.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me. It really was a pleasure.
If you're enjoying the content and finding it valuable, we would appreciate it if you could take a moment and leave us a review. Your feedback is important to us and helps us reach a wider audience. If you leave us a 5-star review, it would mean the world to us. Not only does it help us improve the podcast, but it also helps us attract more sponsors and grow our community. Thank you again for your support and for listening to the Productivity Smarts podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to Productivity Smarts, where we help you achieve your goals and live your best life. We hope you've gained valuable insights and actionable strategies to boost your productivity and increase your happiness and fulfillment. Remember to apply what you've learned and keep striving towards your goals. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our podcast for more inspiring episodes and expert advice from our host, Gerald J. Leonard. Until next time, keep pushing forward and unleashing your productivity smarts.